Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday, this February 22nd, 2023. Got a big show for you guys today. You are not, there's a story that for some reason no one's talking about. It was in like the C block of the Channel 4 news last night. I don't know why no one's talking about this, why this isn't a bigger story, but it isn't. We're going to get to what Eric Adams did to basically just piss away $200 million for New York City, which is absolutely unbelievable. Also, we may get some movement on getting the Tappan Zee Bridge back from a Democrat, nonetheless, which is unbelievable because I don't care what you say. I don't care what you do. I'm not calling it the Mario Cuomo Bridge. Then again, I still call the Jackie Robinson Parkway the Interborough. I still call the Robert Kennedy Bridge the Triborough, the Ed Koch Bridge. We're just renaming things just to make ourselves feel better at this point. But we may be getting the Tappan Zee back. There's been some calls for that for a while because, because, really who the hell names a bridge after their own father, like some kind of weird, I don't know, Egyptian pharaoh or, some third world dictator. But luckily we have that here in New York already. Also, before I get started, make sure you guys smash that like button, share this video across all your social media platforms, tag your friends, invite your friends to like the page. If you're on Facebook, hit those little three dots and go down to invite friends and then welcome your friends so that they can hear all the local news that they're not getting. If you're on Rumble, hit that Rumble button. Share this video all over the place. The Rumble channel is growing bigger and bigger every single day, and I can't thank you guys enough for that. I got like 150 people watching on Rumble right now. Make sure you hit that Rumble button. Also, tune into the show at 1 o'clock today on LFA TV. Vivek Ramaswamy, a person most people have never heard of, has announced he's running for president on the Republican side. I do want to be clear. He will not be president. He will not win any delegates. But what he said last night on Tucker Carlson is an image for America that I think that we should aspire to. Particularly, he's an anti-woke entrepreneur, and he's a very interesting guy. I read his book. You guys should definitely give him a look. Not for president, but just for a bit of social commentary. But before I get started, I do want to give a big congratulations to a former reporter at Newsday, Lane Filler, who has left that vile organization and has now accepted a job up in Albany. Lane is he's probably as close to a friend as I can have in Newsday. He has left that hackery organization to pursue something better up in Albany. So I do want to thank Lane Filler for always being fair to us while we probably disagree on a myriad of things. I do want to give him a big congratulations on the step up in the world, moving up to Albany. I believe he's doing something with the SUNY system. I wish him all the best. You better get your coat, Lane, because Albany is freezing. It's freezing in Albany. So congratulations to him. Another reporter is about to leave Newsday, which is great because that means I can go into a 7-Eleven without being accosted by a really crappy writer who can't even get published in Newsday. He'll be leaving Newsday, and I'm sure I'll be seeing him in court at some point. But I do want to... Tracy's never been to New York. You should come to New York. Despite what the news says, it's actually a fantastic place. Very nice place, beautiful buildings, great architecture. You just got to watch out for the homeless people and the heroin addicts shooting up in Times Square. But I do want to get to the big story today that no one's talking about, and I don't know why. I don't know why this isn't a bigger story, particularly in local news, particularly amongst our ilk. So a couple years ago during COVID, Bill de Blasio, Big Bird, Mayor Groundhog Killer, the commie in chief, decided he was going to spend $200 million. That's $200 million on PPE, on ventilators and other forms of COVID protections because we needed them. The nurses needed them, doctors needed them. They needed gloves, they needed masks, they needed whatever the hell it is they needed. Ventilators. Well, it turns out there's a rule in New York City that says you can only stockpile certain things for up to 90 days. You can only stockpile certain things for up to 90 days. What the hell does that mean? That means that after a certain 90-day period, the items that you stockpile have to be auctioned off. Auctioned off? Well, who the hell are we auctioning it off to? I've got this story from Fox 5. I don't know why more people aren't talking about this. I'm going to share the story on our Facebook, facebook.com/loudmajorityus. Please do share this out because I need an answer on this. I need an answer on this. This from Channel 5. Back in April of 2020, Mayor Bill de Blasio announced that New York City had placed an order for 3,000 emergency ventilators. 3,000 ventilators. That seems like a lot. You know, maybe it's not a lot. But anyway, it was an emergency order made in extraordinary times, back when the Big Apple was the epicenter of the global COVID pandemic. People are dying, said Bill Hammond, a senior policy fellow at the conservative leading think tank, the Empire Institute. It's not conservative leaning. There was a responsible concern that was going to keep getting worse. There was a reasonable concern that it was going to continue to get worse. In those conditions, a lot of expensive mistakes are going to get made, Hammond said. The basic situation was panic buying. One of the costliest items was 3,000 emergency ventilators totaling $12 million. That's $12 million. And now, according to an investigation, Mayor Eric Adams' administration is selling the excess equipment like masks, medical gowns, and ventilators for pennies on the dollar in online auctions. The advertisement in the auction was for non-functioning medical equipment for scrap metal. And they sold it to a junk dealer on Long Island for $24,600. That works out to about $8 per ventilator. In total, the city sold $200 million worth of COVID-era PPE purchases for just $500,000. Are you kidding me? So not only did we waste the money in the first place, but now we're reselling. Now we're reselling all the stuff at auctions for scrap metal for $500,000. You wonder where your tax dollars go? And look, maybe we wouldn't have gone through all the ventilators. Okay. Masks, medical gowns, doctors use those all the time. They should have sold them, if they had to sell them, they should have sold them to the hospitals, which would have eventually used them. Hung on to them. God forbid something else happens. God forbid we need them down the road. But to sell them on an online auction for pennies on the dollar, getting us nothing in return, just shows you how inept the Adams administration really is. Quote, I mean, they're trying to sell it so it's still usable, Smith said. Why don't they just keep it? I mean, are we really comfortable with the idea that this is never going to happen again? Let's be honest. You know they're planning another pandemic. We're hearing about bird flu and influenza and this one and that one. And apparently we're still in peak COVID season. I know that because I still see ugly fat people wearing masks in the car by themselves. So COVID must still be going on. I have an idiot cousin that wears a mask alone in the car. COVID must still be going on. Unless, of course, there was like a study from NBC that put out that said that masks don't really work, but that's not really the point. The point of all this is $200 million sold for $500,000. The ineptitude of the people that we put in charge is staggering. Mayor Eric Adams, when asked Tuesday why the city is selling these items for pennies, blamed what he referenced to as a quote city charter that, according to him, requires items to be disposed of. The charter calls for a 90-day stockpile, Adams said in a response to a reporter's question. After that 90 days, we have to make a determination of my understanding, either to auction it off, give it away, or discard it. I'm going to be honest with you. I would have rather you given it away. I would have rather if you given it away. Just showing They go, look, let's just say we have to give this stuff away. I don't know why we have to give it away, but if there is a charter, fine. Or go to the city council and get the charter lifted. Find the ability to sell this sort of medical equipment back to the people who might need it. Because look, maybe we don't need 3,000 ventilators. I hope to God we don't. Because that means there's a lot of people who are near death in New York. But masks, the gowns, are you kidding me? They give you a gown every time you walk into a doctor's office. You mean to tell me those couldn't have been used? Every surgery a doctor's wearing a mask. But no, we give it away. Gave it away for $500,000, a $200 million offer. You wonder where your tax dollars go. You don't think they maybe New York City, I don't know, could have taken that $200 million and, I don't know, built a drug rehab facility or a homeless shelter. Or, I don't know, fixed a pothole on the Cross Bronx Expressway. We could have done that. We could have taken that $200 million and put it into the MTA fund that Kathy Hochul wants to punish Long Island business owners in taxes to be able to supplement. We could have done that. We could have sold the stuff around the country to different hospitals. Perhaps there's probably some small hospital in West Virginia that maybe doesn't get the supplies it needs. Maybe we could have sold it there. Hell, we could have given it to every school nurse in the state of New York. But no. No. We don't do that. Mayor Bill de Blasio enacted a rule back in 2020 that required the city to always maintain a 90-day stockpile of emergency medical equipment, which is good. We should have that. We don't know when there's going to be. Who the hell knows? I'm not talking about a pandemic. I'm talking about a subway derailment that we're going to need a sudden rush of medical supplies. Maybe a subway falls off the tracks up in Queens where it's above ground. Who the hell knows? That's why you keep an emergency stockpile, because who knows? Not in New York, though. Not under the Adams administration. There has got to be a breaking point for the people of the city of New York. There has to be. Whether it's illegal immigrants coming in and taking up all the hotel rooms, trashing them, some of the nicest hotels in New York. Whether it is them congregating around local businesses with the inability to do business normally, whether it's the crime wave or whether it is just the amount of waste that goes in to New York City. And if you think we're the only city in the country doing this, I got another thing. I got another bridge to sell you, because we're not. We can't be. We can only keep a 90-day stockpile. Well, what the hell is a 90-day stockpile? How do you know what's going to happen on day 89? Talk about being asleep at the wheel. But, that's not what Democrats in the city council are focused on. No. They're focused on gender equity. They're focused on housing people who have no right to be in this country in the first place. But as to this, back to the article, but as to the rule requiring the city to discard PPE items in excess of that 90 days, Fox 5 has asked the mayor's spokesperson what specifically Adams was referring to. So far, his team has not responded. So it's entirely possible that when he said there was a rule that said we had to get rid of stuff after 90 days, it was entirely possible that he was just making that up. Which, let's be honest, would you put it past Mayor Adams to just make something like that up? Would you put it past him? Would you put it past him? Because apparently he has no idea what's happening. He's got no idea what's going on. And this is what happens. This is what happens when you put people in charge who don't know what they're doing. One Democrat in the state Senate who I'm very interested about. I'll probably be emailing him after this because I would love to have him on the show. Apparently there's a push to remove Cuomo's name from the Tappan Zee Bridge and restore it to the Tappan Zee. This move gets new life after a Democrat from the Hudson Valley has been pushing this. Now, what he's saying is that this isn't about Andrew Cuomo or Mario Cuomo. He's saying this is out of respect for the Tappan tribe, which I think it's the Tappan tribe. Apparently, Tappan is it comes from an Indian name, and Z is the Indian word for sea or ocean or body of water. So Tappan Zee Bridge. I don't really care what the reasoning is. All I know is that I don't want to have to drive over the Mario Cuomo Bridge all the time. I don't want to have to drive over past a shrine to the daddy of the former governor, to a man who wanted to be John F. Kennedy so badly that he decided to make 3 more Kennedys. This from the New York Post. A Hudson Valley Democrat wants to push for the late Governor Mario Cuomo off his bridge, or at least the Cuomo name. Quote, everyone in the Hudson Valley still calls it the Tappan Zee for a reason. State Senator James Skoufis, Democrat of Woodbury, told the Post. In the span completed in 2018, it's the rightful name. Skoufis, I'm messing this guy's name up, is adding to his political muscle, to his 3-year legislative push, by becoming the main sponsor of a bill renaming the bridge connecting Rockland County and Westchester counties after 2 years in which GOP-led efforts went nowhere in the state legislature that is dominated by Democratic supermajorities. The name would take effect immediately upon the bill passing the state Senate and the Assembly, which Skoufis hopes to accomplish before the regular legislative session ends this June and gets signed into law by Governor Kathy Hochul. I want to be clear, this is never going to happen. I wish it would, but it's not going to happen. First off, Kathy Hochul still depends on Andrew Cuomo donors to keep her in office. She doesn't care about the downstate. It really doesn't matter to her unless she's milking money out of our taxpayer coffers. She doesn't care a thing about the downstate. Anything from Rockland County down, she doesn't even want to know exists. And we see that through her ridiculous policies with the MTA. It's a good thing they came out and endorsed her, I'll tell you that. The name would take effect immediately upon, read that already. Quote, anytime by June 8th would be great, Skoufis said of his timetable to move the bill through the legislative works. That appears much more possible this year with a prominent Senate Democrat getting behind the cause, according to freshman Assemblyman John McGowan, Republican of Pearl River, who is sponsoring the bill in his chamber, where some Democrats backed it last year. Quote, the reality is being a Republican and trying to get legislation passed is more difficult than my colleagues in the majority, McGowan told the Post last year. I'll work with anybody. Republican, Democrat, good ideas are good ideas. Skoufis is the first Democrat in the state Senate to support the bill. He replaced former state Senator Mike Martucci, a Republican, as the main bill sponsor in the Senate chamber. In exchange for his tribute to Mario Cuomo, Republicans got retirement benefits for uniformed first responders injured on the job, a tax break for lower Manhattan real estate, and a 3-year extension of the county sales tax for both upstate and New York City. So Andrew Cuomo decided to trade tax dollars and retirement benefits for a bridge named after his daddy. And then there's a cute little picture here of his mother, Melinda Cuomo, touching the sculpture of her late husband, Mario Cuomo, with her son, Andrew, by her side. McGowan, the GOP assemblyman, is taking up the mantle of his predecessor, now U.S. Rep. Mike Lawler, who introduced the bill in 2021. Mike Lawler's become quite a star. If you guys are from New York, or if you aren't from New York, you've probably seen Mike Lawler doing all the shows. He's on Fox like every day at this point. Mike Lawler's really become the lead of the New York delegation. I can't tell you how proud I am of that, because if it was any of our Long Island people, we'd be in trouble. We'd be in trouble because speaking in public isn't so great for our Long Island delegation, particularly if you don't know if you're on a hot mic or not. Idiot. Supporters say the proposal is about much more than their preferred name for the key transportation link. Disgraced former Governor Andrew Cuomo strong-armed legislators into greenlighting the Mario moniker as part of a late-night legislative backroom deal to approve a catch-all omnibus bill in 2017, as the finishing touches were put on a nearly $4 billion structure. Look, don't get me wrong. The Tappan Zee Bridge needed to be rebuilt. It absolutely needed to be rebuilt. That was like one of the most dangerous. You had to hold your breath before you went over that over that bridge. People joked around that before you crossed the Tappan Zee Bridge, you had to stop and pee because if you were too heavy, you would have went through the bridge. Now, of course, we build that bridge right before the $1 trillion infrastructure bill comes out in the House of Representatives out of D.C. So we foot the entire bill for that. We get nothing from the federal government on that $4 billion bill. We get nothing out of that. I said it on my show yesterday about the infrastructure bill, about the $1 trillion infrastructure bill in terms of all the train derailments we've been seeing. You know, we have a national show. Dimples, if you want to know who was caught on a hot mic, someone in the chat let them know, because his name's not worth saying on during my airtime. But I said it on yesterday's show about the $1 trillion infrastructure bill in terms of all the train derailments that have been going on. Has anyone seen anything built yet? Have we built anything in this country? Anything at all? That was over a year ago. You'd think they would have started building some project right now. You'd think they would have started building something, maybe repairing some of the train rails in this country so we can master the art of the railroad, considering, I don't know, we've been traveling by train for 150 years at this point, and we still can't figure out how trains work. Turns out you need to replace the tracks every now and again. That way you don't completely nuke a city in eastern Ohio while our president goes and gives $500 million to Ukraine. If there was any... And you know what? This is something that's so important. Because on this show all the time we talk about breaking through the matrix. We talk about getting through to our liberal friends. How helping them see the light. Having them take the red pill. If you're going to show any one of your friends any part of this show, you need to show them this exact sentence. Joe Biden gave $500 million to Ukraine on the same day that Benny Johnson, the political commentator, gave $20,000 of his own money to the people of East Palestine. If that doesn't show you the priorities of this administration in terms of domestic versus foreign policy, then nothing will. Even if you don't go down the rabbit hole of the corruption and the money laundering and Burisma and the money going to Hunter Biden and the firing of the Ukrainian prosecutor, even if you don't go down that road, just ask your liberal friends this one question. Why is it okay to give $500 million to Ukraine on the same day that we've essentially poisoned an entire town in eastern Ohio? That's the question. That's the question. Why? If you can give me, if you have a liberal friend who can answer that question, and look, I'm not saying some people have a good reason to want to give money to Ukraine. I don't believe in it. I think all foreign aid should be banned immediately and brought back home. But some people will believe that they have a good reason for doing that. My question is, why are the people of Ukraine more important than the people of East Palestine, Ohio? That's the only question I have. That's what you've got to ask your liberal friends. Why is it okay that there are drug-addicted homeless people living on the steps of Penn Station? Why is it okay that New York City's pension funds are about to go bankrupt Why is it okay that we are now having a debate over over funding Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare while giving money to other countries? I'll tell you how we fix the Social Security and Medicaid problem. We stop giving foreign aid to countries that don't matter. And if you're watching this show, no, beautiful, someone else was caught on a hot mic. Somebody else was caught on a hot mic during the State of the Union address. I'm sure someone in the chat. Come on, chat. Does anyone know who was caught on a hot mic during the State of the Union address? Someone's got to know. We'll play a little game here. I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint. He's from Long Island. Not his district, but he's from Long Island. Why is that okay? Why is it okay to we could fix every domestic policy issue in this country right now if we just stop giving foreign aid? Also, I want to know where Joe Biden gets the authority to give $500 million to Ukraine on a nice 10-hour trip on a train. I'm sure the train he took from Warsaw, Poland to Kiev is in a lot. There you go, Tommy. I'm sure the train he took from Warsaw, Poland to Kiev was probably a nice, smooth ride. Not like we're seeing trains in Michigan where the trains actually go up and down, up and down. It's staggering to me. And as I've said numerous times, this isn't like when we gave foreign aid in World War II, when we got something back for it. Hell, that was a loan we gave to the Brits during World War II. A loan so steep that they were continuing to pay it back until 2006. 60 years after World War II ended. Instead, what are we just pushing money out the door? We are quite literally the sugar daddies of the world. We are the sugar daddies of the world. And no one seems to mind. Republican and Democrat alike. There's probably about 40 Republicans in the House and in the Senate that even care to talk about this. Sure enough, they will talk about, we do like hot mics. Hot mics are fun. Yet they're going to continue to talk about how Republicans want to cut Social Security and Republicans want to cut Medicare. No, they don't. No one wants to do that. That was a proposal by Rick Scott that nobody even signed on to. The fact of the matter is that all of these policies could be fixed if we just stopped giving our money away. Right now we are a home that can't pay its electric bill, but it's giving money to people that they've never even seen before. There's a reason on a plane, when the little mask comes down, they tell you to put your mask on first. Because if you are passed out from the lack of oxygen, you can't help other people. There's a reason for that. Idiot. I do have one more story that the Biden administration is really jumping the shark on this one when it comes to immigration. It turns out that the proposals of the prior administration, the Trump administration, actually worked. So much so that now they have to reinstitute it in the night. Russell, would you stop texting me, you bald beaver? Idiot. Before we get to that, make sure you guys smash that Rumble button. Share this video across all your social media platforms. If you're on Facebook, hit that like button. Guys, head on over to loudmajorityus.com. Sign up for our newsletter. Check out the shop. Use promo code LFA for 20% off at checkout. That promo code LFA, Lima Foxtrot Alpha at checkout for 20% off everything on the website. We just got back in the USA hoodies, in case anybody's looking for those. I know some people wanted them, so we got them back in. They're a big hit. They've been flying off the shelves, so grab yours before they are sold out. I don't know when we'll be getting them. And again, I do want to get to this. Apparently, this is from the Daily Wire. Apparently, the Biden administration proposes immigration restrictions that resemble a Trump-era policy. Really? You don't say. You don't say. The Biden administration proposes a new restriction on asylum seekers that closely resembles a policy of the Trump administration. Really? The new rule would prevent migrants who do not use already available legal pathways to asylum and do not seek asylum in a third country from applying for asylum in the U.S. The Biden administration official said that the rule was proposed in response to the end of Title 42 restrictions. It is also closely resembles a Trump administration policy, which similarly banned asylum seekers who did not first seek asylum in another country. You're damn right. If you break the law to get into this country, you lose your ability to get asylum. Here's how this game would work. If you are caught crossing the border illegally, you are fingerprinted. If you then apply for asylum the legal way, you are denied asylum because you've already attempted to break the law. That's how that game works. I bet you that would put a halt to immigration in about 2 seconds. But they won't do it because they're going to get flack from their left wing. The Biden administration has done nothing but cater to the lowest common denominator on every issue in this country. Why would they do it any differently when it comes to immigration? Quote, the proposed rule would encourage migrants to avail themselves of lawful, safe, and orderly pathways into the United States or otherwise to seek asylum or other protections in countries through which they have traveled, thereby reducing reliance on human smuggling networks that exploit migrants for financial gain. The Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Justice wrote in a note of proposed rulemaking Tuesday, quote, It would do so by introducing a rebuttable presumption of asylum ineligibility for certain non-citizens who neither avail themselves of lawful state and orderly pathway to the United States nor seek asylum or other protections in the countries from which they traveled. So it turns out if you're from Panama, you have to go through Mexico to get to the United States. So just stay in Mexico. If your goal is to get out of your country because things are bad, I can understand that. I can wrap my brain around that. I wouldn't want to live in Haiti either. And they're going to be idiots out there that go, that's racist. You're making fun of Haitians. And no, you rich white liberals from the North Shore of Long Island. If you don't believe me, when you're planning your next vacation, let me know if you're planning to go to, Port-au-Prince, Haiti. No, of course you're not planning to go there. So don't tell me things are all glorious. First off, Haiti gets destroyed by a hurricane every 5 years. So why the hell would you want to live there? I understand why people don't want to be there. What I don't understand is why we think in this country it is our responsibility to take in the totality of the world's poor. We have enough poor people in this country. We have enough low-skilled workers in this country. We don't need any more of them. The DOJ and DHS expressed optimism on the new restrictions, that would lead to a reduction in migrants crossing the southern border, thereby reducing the power of human smuggling networks and helping to decrease the number of migrants in already overcrowded border facilities. This reduction in number would assure that migrant processing is, quote, done in an effective, humane, and efficient manner. So it turns out they have to go back to a Trump administration policy to get immigration under control. No shit. Because your immigration policies don't work. I believe there was 153,000 migrants in the last month alone. 153,000. This is becoming unsustainable. I say it on both of these shows all the time. You can have an open border or you can have a social welfare program, but a country can't have both. There are just far too many poor people around the country, around the world, to take in all of them. If you're fleeing a South American country to come to America, stop in any of the other countries on your way there. And I want to be clear. This is not the same as in the 80s, when you had like the Muriel boat lifts out of Cuba, people floating on 1957 Chevys 90 miles from Havana to Miami. This is not the same thing. These are people traveling thousands of miles. Their goal is not to leave their country. Their goal is to come to this one. And the reason for that is because they know they're going to get a whole bunch of free crap. Free education, free housing, free health insurance. They're going to get jobs where they don't have to pay taxes. A lot of people say, don't punish the migrants, punish the employers that hire illegal immigrants. Okay, I agree with you. Let's do that. The fact is, we need to incentivize younger people to go to work. Because apparently we as a culture have not done enough of that. And then they wonder why we believe in things like the Great Replacement Theory. I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying it's not true. All I'm saying is, when you do things like this, how can people not believe in it? How can people not believe in the Great Replacement Theory? When these are the sorts of moves you're pulling. And then we see New York City overcrowded, migrants being bussed in by Governor Abbott and Governor DeSantis, which I get. Don't get me wrong. I'm not thrilled with it, but this is what we voted for. We voted for an idiot like Eric Adams to be the mayor of New York. And you know what the scariest part about the incompetency of Mayor Adams is that of those in the Democratic field, he was actually the least worst candidate. Things could have been so much worse if we elected Maya Wiley. It would have been so much worse if we had elected someone like that. Exponentially worse. But that's what ends up happening when you have a disengaged electorate. When you have a disengaged electorate, you get a disengaged governance. It's the bottom line. And now the Biden administration has to go back to Trump-era policies that they claimed were racist. The new restrictions closely resemble a similar asylum ban implemented by the Trump administration. Those restrictions, referred to as both asylum bans and transit bans, were highly controversial and bitterly fought over in the courts from the beginning of the Trump administration's first term. The Trump-era bans were blocked by the courts in 2018 and 2020. The final rule was implemented on Trump's last day in office, but a judge struck that down as well. Hopefully, now that we have a 6-3 majority in the court, these sorts of things will be able to hold firm. Moreover, you'll have to deal with people like Elena Kagan, who kind of admitted yesterday on the bench, Justice Kagan sort of admitted the fact that she doesn't understand laws. Which is odd because before she became a Supreme Court justice, she was the dean at Harvard Law School. That she doesn't understand Section 230, the platform publisher divide that we talk about so often on this show. It's good to know that I saved $300,000 by not having to go to law school, because it turns out that's totally worthless in the world of credentialing that we have with our universities. All that so Elena Kagan can tell people that she doesn't really understand how Section 230 works. It needs to be explained to her a little bit better. See, that's what happens when you have dinosaurs on the court. When you have 90-year-olds in Congress and in the Senate. Pat Leahy's like 90 years old. Dianne Feinstein is 90 years old. Chuck Grassley, who I'm a fan of, is like 90 years old. We need fresh new blood. I'd even take a 50-year-old in Congress. Don Lemon wouldn't, but then he's got to go through sensitivity training. Guys, we're wrapping up on 9 o'clock here. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure if you're on Rumble, you smash that Rumble button. Share this video across all your social media platforms. Guys, hit the follow button on the bottom of the page. Help this channel continue to grow bigger and better every single day. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're on Facebook, hit that like button, hit that share button, put it into all your groups so that people can see what's going on in their state, in their city, in their country. You're not going to see this kind of news anywhere else. I bet you most people didn't know that Mayor Eric Adams just wasted $200 million in medical supplies because of some draconian rule that Mayor Big Bird put in a couple of years ago. It's not on any news anywhere. I think that would be a big deal. I think that's a big deal. Also, guys, head on over to loudmajorityus.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out the shop. Pick up your merch now. Grab those USA hoodies. Use promo code LFA at checkout. That's LFA at checkout for 20% off everything on the website. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you guys back at 1 p.m. on LFA TV, rumble.com/LFA TV. That channel is getting bigger and better every single day, growing like mad. I can't believe the growth on that channel. So make sure you guys tune in. Jeremy Harrell will be up at 9 o'clock with Rise Up on LFA TV. So make sure you guys start your day off with some good news from Jeremy. Guys, until 1 p.m., I'll see you then. Stay loud, everybody.